The claim we're about to check is from Senator Bob Casey's campaign. He's the Democratic incumbent running for another term. He accuses his opponent, Republican Dave McCormick, of investing in a Chinese fentanyl producer. Here's the claim.
As CEO of Wall Street's largest hedge fund, McCormick invested millions in China's biggest fentanyl producer.
McCormick served as CEO of the hedge fund company Bridgewater Associates from 2020 to the beginning of 2022. News 8 found federal tax documents that show the investments Bridgewater made in that time. In these forms from 2021, we found Bridgewater had at least $1.6 million invested in an entity called HumanWell Healthcare. So let's dig into what HumanWell is. A bipartisan group of senators, House members, and others drafted this report in 2022 to find ways to stop synthetic opioids from getting into the U.S. In it, it says HumanWell Healthcare is a Chinese producer of fentanyl used in medical applications, and it owns 90% of the domestic market of fentanyl in China. Here again is the claim the Casey campaign is making.
As CEO of Wall Street's largest hedge fund, McCormick invested millions in China's biggest fentanyl producer.
McCormick's campaign did not dispute to News 8 that Bridgewater invested in HumanWell while McCormick was CEO. His campaign told me McCormick had no direct role in Bridgewater's investment strategy. But McCormick has talked about how Bridgewater guided investments in China, including during his book tour last year.
So we had an investment strategy that ultimately, I think while I was there, like 2% of our assets were in China, but we had $160 billion, so 2% is not an insignificant amount, was in China.
In the same interview, McCormick said this about his involvement in the investment strategy.
I was the CEO, so whatever we did, I'm responsible for.
So when we couple that with the tax documents that we showed you about the HumanWell investments, we find the Casey campaign's claim that McCormick invested in China's biggest fentanyl producer is true. We have more to check, though, because you may have seen McCormick responded to this ad with an ad of his own. Here's what he says.
I never made any investments in the makers of illegal fentanyl.
McCormick's use of the word illegal is notable because that is not part of Casey's claim. The McCormick campaign argues HumanWell only makes fentanyl for legal medical use, and by specifying illegal fentanyl, that makes McCormick's rebuttal difficult to fact check. And this is why. The U.S. government has found China's pharmaceutical industry is, quote, weakly regulated and poorly monitored, and that in many cases, the chemicals used to produce fentanyl and fentanyl-like products are illegally diverted from legitimate pharmaceutical uses. So we cannot say with certainty that Chinese fentanyl made by HumanWell has never come to Pennsylvania for illegal use, which is what McCormick suggests in his rebuttal. At the same time, we have not found any direct evidence to prove that HumanWell fentanyl has killed Pennsylvanians, which is what the Casey campaign implies in its ad. So you're seeing some allegations made in political ads are just not specific enough to check. And that's the case for those parts of the ads. But we'll continue to look into them for you. Getting the facts, Matt Barcaro, WGAL News 8. Not only does the same claim appear in ads in two different races, but it's the exact same clip of Kamala Harris that's being used. We'll play both clips in the ads, first from former President Donald Trump's campaign, then from Dave McCormick, the Republican running for U.S. Senate.
Harris will ban all fracking.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
Harris would make these Pennsylvania jobs disappear.
The clip of Harris is from a CNN town hall in 2019 when Harris was running for president in the Democratic primary. We reviewed the full question and answer from the town hall and find the ads are using Harris's answer accurately. Keep in mind, that was 2019. In 2020, when Joe Biden picked her as his vice president, Harris reiterated Biden's position on fracking during the vice presidential debate, though she did not make reference to her personal opinion. This is what she said at that debate in 2020.
I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact.
This summer, when Harris became the Democratic nominee for president, her campaign said she supports fracking. At the presidential debate in September, Harris was asked why her position on the issue changed. This is what she said.
I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking.
Also, in a CNN interview, Harris was asked to explain why she supports fracking now when she was so clear about wanting to ban it in 2019.
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
Now, it's not uncommon for politicians to change their positions on issues. We see it from politicians in both parties on a host of issues. But for this Adwatch, we're checking the specific claim in the ads you saw that say Kamala Harris will ban fracking. You heard her say it twice in just the past few weeks that she would not ban fracking if elected. So we rate the claim false. Having said all that, though, we also find it's important to point out that no president is able to ban all fracking in the U.S. by themselves. A president could tighten or change regulations for fracking on federal land, but a president does not have authority to automatically ban fracking on private land. And the vast majority of fracking in Pennsylvania is on private land. Only Congress would be able to change or ban that fracking activity. Getting the facts, Matt Barquero, WGAL News 8. The ad we're about to check is from the Republican candidate running for State Attorney General, Dave Sunday. He accuses his opponent, Democrat Eugene DePasquale, of being unfit for the job. That's a subjective claim, an opinion. But there are two factual claims made that we can check. Here they are.
DePasquale's never prosecuted a case, never put a violent criminal behind bars.
Eugene DePasquale previously served statewide as Auditor General and before that as a state lawmaker from York County. He has never served as a prosecutor and therefore has never been in a position to put anyone behind bars. So those two claims are true. Dave Sunday uses those points to make a case that DePasquale is not up for the job as Attorney General. So we looked into the requirements for someone to serve as the state AG. They're listed in the state constitution. It says anyone serving as Attorney General has to be at least 30 years old, a resident of Pennsylvania for at least 7 years before the election, and a member of the bar in Pennsylvania. News 8 found DePasquale meets those requirements. He was admitted into the bar in 2003, and his campaign told us he practiced law for the city of York, the State Department of Environmental Protection, and oversaw the legal department in the Auditor General's office. Also in the ad we're checking, it says Dave Sunday, the Republican candidate, has 15 years experience in the courtroom. News 8 checked, and he has served in the York County DA's office for that long. But again, courtroom experience is not a requirement to be State Attorney General. Getting the facts, Matt Barquero, WGAL News 8.